Hi there, welcome to Money Through Ease. This is your host, Reagan Bashara. I'm the founder of All Ease Accounting, and this podcast is all about money and finances, especially as it relates to business and entrepreneurship in the United States. And I want to come on today and talk about pricing and a little bit of a revamp of the pricing chats that we've had before on the podcast. A couple of weeks ago, you heard from Sarah Finns, who is a guest, and she was talking about pricing your offer for profit. I've also done a podcast episode on my rule for pricing. So maybe you already know what that rule is, but it's essentially this. If you're going to be mean to yourself, you're going to feel shame, you're going to feel guilt, you're going to beat yourself up, no matter which number you pick for your price, for your offer. If you're going to feel shame, guilt, and beat yourself up either way, low number, high number, you might as well pick the high number. Why? Because it costs money to survive in this world, and you might as well make more fucking money, right? So that is essentially my rule for pricing. And for the past couple of weeks, I think, I've been exploring more of this rule for myself, kind of like turning it over and seeing like, where did I come up with this? And how does this play out? Is there anything that I'm missing or anything that I'm not seeing in this rule that could be like harmful or something that is coming from me speaking from a place of privilege, which I hold as a white cis woman in the United States. I've been trying to consider, like, is there something that I'm missing or something else that I need to clarify or say or add to this rule? But I really don't think there is. And if you think there is, if there's something coming up for you whenever I say that, I want to hear from you. You can get on my email list at my website, alleaseaccounting.com, and reply to any email that you see from me. My subscriptions emails go out, every week really. And so whenever you see an email from me, you can reply to it and it comes directly to my inbox. I'm the only one that sees it. So if something has come up for you, when I've been talking about pricing, when I've been talking about my rule for pricing, I would love to hear from you, because if there's something that I'm not seeing, I want to know, right? If there's something that is maybe harmful or inaccurate or not coming from a place of like an intersectional kind of lens, I need to know, I want to know, and I encourage you to reach out to me so that we can have that conversation together. But I don't think that this is coming from I don't think that it's a privileged take. And once again, I could be wrong, but let me explain to you what my thoughts are about this rule. So I'll tell you first where this rule kind of came from. I am a business owner. I own a virtual bookkeeping firm. It just turned 2 years old because I started my business in May of 2022. So I just passed my 2-year mark. By the way, I want to celebrate with you that I've made $100,000 in my business gross so far in 2 years, which I think is just fucking incredible, to be quite honest with you. I'm very proud of that fact. I think that was not an easy thing to do for me. It has been a struggle, but I'm really amazed and in awe of myself, and I want to celebrate that with you. But I've been in my business for 2 years, and when you're in business, nobody is making up the rules for you, right? You have to make up the rules yourself. Sorry, I had to stop for a second to sneeze. I would just rather stop the recording and then sneeze and then not have to edit that out later. Okay, so I've been in business for 2 years. When you're in business for yourself, you get to set your prices. And there are certain industries that are regulated for like what price you can set. For instance, if you are in the healthcare services field, insurance companies will only pay so much for healthcare services, right? Like you can't say that an annual doctor's visit is going to cost $1,000 and then insurance is, if someone claims that on their insurance and bills that to their insurance, the insurance is not going to just be like, okay, here's a check for $1,000, right? Like they have their standards set. Even in my field, I am a paid tax preparer. I keep my paid tax preparer status with the IRS. I do my continuing education every year. even though I don't prepare taxes, well, I do prepare like payroll tax returns. So I keep it for that, and also to kind of stay on the up and up. I want to know what kind of changes are happening with tax returns, because the work that I do for my clients informs their tax returns. It goes on their information returns. And so I keep that up, and there are certain regulations and rules that the IRS has set for tax preparers on how much we can charge people to prepare returns. So there are regulations for that. For some of the kind of services I provide, for some people in certain industries, it is like a legal thing. It is, there is some sort of authority or agency that is monitoring what you set your prices at, and they can come in and say you can't do that, right? So, but aside from that, if there are services or products that you sell that aren't like regulated in some way, you can just pick a fucking number. Like, if there's not a regulation for it, that means you can pick the number. And this is where we get into the fact that we are in a capitalist economy, meaning that there is not as much regulation for like most things in the market, for most products and services in the market. Now, we are largely a service-based economy. There's very few like products that people make and sell anymore that's like made here. And I know I'm talking to my small business people, so of course you make your products if you are a product-based business and you sell that. But other than that, there's not like, most stuff gets made overseas nowadays, or gets manufactured or mined, or there are resources that come from other places. So it's not like coming from here, it's not being made here. And so, where was I going with that thought? Honestly, that was a tangent. We are in a service-based economy, and capitalism says that like there should not be any oversight body or regulatory body. There should not be any regulations for the way people do business and the way corporations do business, not just people. Like, there should be corporations set up, and there should not be any regulations on those corporations. I feel like most of us would agree that that's not a good fucking idea, that capitalism in general is just not a good idea. But that's kind of how we're operating right now. Yes, there are a lot of regulatory bodies for most industries in the United States. I don't have the exact like numbers on that, but if you think about it, like healthcare, food, those have regulatory bodies. Even like products, like just things that you buy in the store, medication, clothing, like there's certain, and then of course like the regulation of like labor in the United States, like you have to pay people a certain minimum wage unless they're like a server in the restaurant, or it's even legal to pay disabled people lower than the minimum wage, which is fucked up. And so like even labor and service in this country is regulated. So we're not completely under 100% free market capitalism. But for the most part, the regulations that do exist aren't enough to serve us, to like protect us. Like the fact that the minimum wage federally is $7.25 an hour is abysmal, because that is not a living wage. The healthcare industry, we all know, have stories, personal stories that we've heard from other people about the healthcare industry and how like people are getting sick and then they literally can't get fucking help. Like there's so much red tape to get through. So even though there are regulatory bodies, we still live under largely like a free market economy. And that means that you do have the agency to choose your own prices with some limitations. But for the most part, most people that own businesses can just fucking pick a number, and nobody's going to come in and say you can't do that. So if that's the case, then that just means that you can just pick a number. So then it comes down to, when you're considering what to set the number at for your prices, it comes down to how you think and feel about that number. And it is not true that it matters what other people think, because here's why. Like, there's so many fucking people. There's millions of people in the United States alone. So if your market is your local area or nationally or internationally, there's so many people that are available to purchase your product or to engage with your services. So there are so many people, it is just not true that if you pick a number, that there's nobody out there that would pay that price. There is somebody out there that would pay that price, that actually wants what you have to offer, that needs it, and is ready to like write the check or swipe the card. So if that's also true, if it's true that we can just pick a number and that there's somebody out there that wants to pay you that amount of money for your product or your services, then it doesn't matter what number you pick, and it only comes down to how you think and feel about that number. And I'm walking you through this right now because this has been my thought process for coming up with this pricing rule. And here's what gets in the way, typically, especially if you are someone who lives in a marginalized identity or a marginalized body. If you are not a man, if you are not white, if you are disabled in any way, if you are impoverished or ever have been impoverished, if your gender, your sexuality is in some way marginalized by the larger systems at play, then you probably, I would bet money, I would bet all of my services and the cost of them, that you have some internalized socialization that holds you back from picking the number you actually want to pick, the number that you think is the actual value of what you're providing. If you live in a marginalized identity, if you're not a cishet, straight, white man, who's able-bodied, you probably have some socialization about why you're not good enough, or you don't have enough qualifications, or the thing that you're offering, the product or the service, doesn't actually have that much value. And your internalized socialization is what gets in the way of you picking the number that you actually want to pick, that you think is in alignment and sustainable with your offer's value. So if all of that's true, and it really comes down to what you think and the fact that we all have internalized socialization that holds us back, that makes us think that we're not good enough, then the pricing, you might as well pick the higher number. If you're stuck between two values, two numbers, let's say $50 and $100, if $50 you're like, that's too low, I'm going to lose money, I won't make a profit if I sell the thing for $50. Or if you think about pricing the thing at $100 and you're like, no one's ever going to pay that price, people are going to get mad and tell me that it's not worth that much, it's not valued at that much money. If you're stuck between those two numbers and you're feeling shitty either way, and you have your reasons not to pick either number, you might as well just pick the higher number, because we need to make more money to survive, to thrive, to be comfortable, to be safe and secure and happy in our lives. And picking the lower number is probably not going to get you there faster. It's probably not going to create that security and that stability and sustainability in your business and in your life, because it's just less money, right? You're just going to end up having to sell more to make up for that loss, to make up the same profit. And if you pick the higher number, all you have to contend with is your own discomfort, because we've already established that if you're selling a widget for $100, then there's already people out there that want what you have to offer and are willing to pay $100. We've already established that as a fact. That is the case, that somebody out there wants to buy that thing and they're willing to pay $100 for it. And so if that's the case, then you kind of have nothing to worry about except for your own thoughts, except for your own limiting beliefs and your own internalized socialization about why you shouldn't choose that number. And so that's why my rule about pricing is what it is. If you're between two numbers and you've got a higher number and a lower number, and you're shitting on yourself either way, you're beating yourself up, you have your excuses of why nobody would buy, about why you can't sell a widget for either amount. If it's just the same thing either way, you might as well pick the higher number, okay? So that comes down to, of course, our internalized socialization. But there are external factors that come into this, right? Because if you are somebody that's in a marginalized identity or a marginalized body, other people's opinions about you may shape whether or not they decide to buy from you, right? If you okay, so I'll use myself as an example. I have a lot of free shit. If you're listening to this podcast, this is a free thing that anybody can listen to. Anybody with access to the internet can listen to this podcast. And you probably already know how much value and resources this podcast alone contains. I have expert guests on here to talk to you about their specific fields, giving you resources and advice and tips and things to do to get you where you want to be in your business. I myself get on here and talk exactly about what I do, giving you step-by-step instructions on how to do it. I have YouTube videos. Again, all you need is internet access. YouTube videos walking you through step-by-step tutorials for my bookkeeping methods, and especially in using QuickBooks Online. So nobody can say that I have anything that is priced too high, because I offer so many resources and things that are available to anybody. And if you recall, if you've been with me for long enough, or if you've listened far enough back on the podcast, you already know that 2023, my kind of theme of the year was over delivery. It was to create a body of work that was completely free and resourceful and valuable to anybody with internet access. That was the whole thing for me in 2023. And I think I fucking succeeded on that, y'all. I don't think anybody can say that I haven't over-delivered. And so it's just funny to me that I do in fact get comments online that are like, oh, a QuickBooks Online, a training on QuickBooks Online costs this much. By the way, y'all, it costs $497. I don't gatekeep my pricing either. That is accessible and available to anybody that is interested in it. Like, you can go find that out. And so that's why I'm saying it here. It's $497. I have Mind the Gap enrollment now, which has a price on it that you can go look at. It also has a fucking payment plan option now. You can split up the payment for your enrollment in Mind the Gap to up to 12 months. And and then all of my other services and things that I do for people in between are at all different price points. So it's really fucking funny to me that I get comments from people that are like, that costs too much. Oh, I can't afford that. You should really have resources and offers that are accessible and more available to more people. Bitch, are you fucking new here? Were you born yesterday? Because I fucking do, okay? So, and I don't want to give these folks that are making these asinine comments any more energy than they fucking deserve, which is zero. But I'm using this as an example to talk about pricing and socialization, because it's really fucking important, y'all, that we have this conversation, because there are people out here saying this shit, and they're saying it to me because I'm a fucking woman. I guarantee you they don't go on to some man who is a CPA or an accountant or a bookkeeper, whoever the fuck. I guarantee you they don't go on those guys' videos and talk about their fucking pricing. I guarantee you I will eat my fucking jeans if that's incorrect. So don't come at me with that shit, because the only reason people are saying that to me is because of who I am as a person, which is fucked up. And that's why I say fuck that. I'm still going to over-deliver and give people free resources and information and fucking help them out no matter how much money they have. It doesn't fucking matter to me how much money they have. I'm going to help you. But don't fucking come on here and lie to me, because you're only lying to yourself, bitch. So, all right, anyways, bring it back in. Rein it in. That's why we got to talk about this pricing thing, y'all. Because those fucking people that want to bitch and whine in my comments don't fucking matter to me. They don't want my fucking help, because they're saying that shit in my comments when it's not the fucking truth and they haven't taken the time to figure it out. So they don't deserve my time or energy. But it's really important to have this conversation, because those people exist and they're going to do what they're going to fucking do. So let them do what they're going to do. Boost my engagement, bitch. The rest of you, this is why it doesn't fucking matter what number you pick. And so if you're going to be mean to yourself and there's going to be people out there questioning your prices anyways, especially if you exist in a marginalized body, then fuck it, pick the higher fucking number. All right. I think I'm going to get off my soapbox for today. I'm so sorry that I've been like yelling for the past like 5 minutes. Anyways, I just wanted to come on and talk about that because after examining my rule about pricing to see like, okay, is there something I'm missing here? Is there something that I'm not seeing? Am I approaching this from an intersectional standpoint? Is this in line with my personal values, with my business values? Is this still kind of in alignment? The answer is fucking yes, bitch. Okay? So pick the higher number. And I said what I fucking said. That's going to be all from me today. I hope that you found something valuable in this episode. It was especially valuable to me to just fucking get on here and rant and cuss at y'all. So I'm so sorry if there are like children present. Maybe don't listen to my podcast whenever there's people who get offended by that sort of thing around. That's just maybe not the best idea. Anyways, get on my email list. If you've got thoughts about this and you want to argue about it, I welcome that. Get on my email list, send me an email. I want to also let you know that Mind the Gap enrollment is open, and it has been, but like the content is available now. So when you get enrolled, you get to choose a payment plan at this point. So if price was something holding you back, just know that payment plans are an option. And also, if price is ever an issue for you, if you are ever thinking to yourself, man, I really wish that I could afford what Reagan is offering, fucking contact me, please. I don't want anything to stand in the way of you getting the resources and the help that you need. Like, let's fucking talk about it. And not in a way that I'm going to like convince you to like put a second mortgage on your house so you can fucking afford my services. That's not what is going to happen, okay? But let's have a conversation about it because I want you to get the support that you need. And if you think that I'm the person to give that support to you, then let's fucking work. Well, we can find a way to work together, okay? And like I said, I have so many options available for people at all price levels because when you start a business, usually you're starting a business with $0 nowadays. None of y'all listening probably have fucking like trust funds and shit. And if you do, that's great. But I'd bet money that like most of you don't have, you're not just like independently wealthy, and that's fine. But I don't want that to stand in the way of you starting a business because I believe that business ownership, that entrepreneurship is the way that we can create wealth and security and flexibility and financial freedom for ourselves. So I'm not going to be the one to stand in the way of that. Okay. So get on my email list. You can visit my link tree, which will be in the show notes. And the link tree has a bunch of different stuff on it for you to check out besides this podcast. Like I said, I've got free shit on YouTube that are like quick tutorials. We have the monthly community subscription. It's $7 a month. You can join up there on my link tree. So $7 a month. Come on. Okay. Come join us inside the community. We're doing a bunch of shit. If there's something you want to learn about, you can request that. And I'm more than happy to respond to requests for tutorials and information. And even if you want to see something and you don't want to join the community, let me know what it is. Because if I can make content about it that's not only helpful to you, but helpful to other people, then I'll fucking do it. Okay? So hit me up. Hit up the community. Check out my other shit on the email list. But I really want to encourage y'all to examine your own thoughts about your pricing and examine your own thoughts about money because that is literally the only thing holding you back. So sorry. That's very rude, but it's true. It doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter which number you pick. What matters is how you think and feel about it. Because if you pick a number that's just simply outrageous and you don't fucking like that number, if you pick the higher number, and you feel terrible about it anyways, chances are you're probably not going to go fucking make the offer and sell it either. So like you got to work on that part too. But pick the higher number because we're all in this to make more fucking money, okay? That's going to be all that I have for you today. Thanks so much for listening. Check out the show notes to get in contact with me, and hope everybody has an amazing rest of your week. Bye.